Canelo losing to Dmitry Bivol. Can you effing believe it? Yes, it happened. And on top of it, BC, you happened to call it. Topic number 4, We talk about it now. So it was a unanimous decision. None of the judges gave Canelo the fight. Now, of course, they gave him a few rounds in a few different directions, but Bivol had the leading scorecard on all 3 judges' scorecards. Okay, BC, this is my question to start this conversation. Having thought about it, potentially reviewed it again, in your mind, I know you scored it in real time, 11 rounds to 1 for Bivol, which I don't think is crazy at all. Thinking about it in a different way, perhaps, what are the maximum number of rounds you could reasonably give to Canelo?
3. And anything more than that would be uncivilized, Luke. And what was weird about the 3 judges scoring it 7-5 for Bivol, of course, was that all 3 scored the same exact rounds. The same. They gave Canelo 1 through 4 and 9 on all 3 cards, which is, I mean, it's happened before, Luke. It's not impossible, but it's weird. I ask every fighter the same question when they're fighting Canelo. And sometimes I feel like I'm doing the stir the shit up for no reason, Luke, but I ask them, do you believe you can win a decision against Canelo? Nobody does, right? You know, even Floyd, who I scored 12 rounds to 0 against Canelo, somebody gave Canelo 6 rounds, CJ Ross, to score that one even and have it a majority draw. So you know the history there. It's ridiculous in a fight this I don't want to say non-competitive. It was competitive. But in a fight this visually one-sided, and Luke, the CompuBox numbers tell you in every category that it was what you saw with your eyes. It was visually one-sided. To see Canelo lose 7-5, so like, I wouldn't doubt what Canelo said after the fight, that he believes, oh, we'll just rematch and I'll beat him this time. In his mind, Luke, it's, I was 1 round away on every card. But dude, that's the only way Bivol was going to get the decision, by demonstratively beating Canelo, and he did. So yeah, I don't think you can give Canelo more than 3. He landed some hard single shots, but Luke, the thing that Canelo has had the advantage against every opponent above 168 pounds is instantly, whether they're confident or not coming in, they show intimidation against him because he's so crafty, so smart, so efficient that he finds ways to get inside your guard and he starts picking you apart, and he's faster and stronger than you think he is, and his footwork's great, and it doesn't matter the challenge. He finds a way, which is why he's been carrying balls this big in every interview saying, cruiserweight title? Yeah, I'd do that. Heavyweight title? Fuck it. That was what he said this week, Luke. Fuck it. But he ran into somebody who wasn't going to back down, and it was key. Even though I had the balls to pick the Bivol upset. And by the way, shout out to Aaron Bronsteter, who did DM me about 2 weeks before the fight and said, am I crazy to think Bivol wins this? And I said, no, you're not crazy. To do that, Luke, we had to see a version of him that we'd never seen before. I mean, he fought Joe Smith Jr., a big puncher, before. But even that, Bivol fought safe and outboxed him. The only way Bivol was going to win this was to do exactly what he did, Luke. Show Canelo zero respect, push him to the ropes, and when he had him in compromising situations, let your hands go. Luke, it worked out perfectly that his technique is so strong, his speed was on the right level, and he had enough pop to confuse, anger, frustrate Canelo. But dude, he never backed down in ways that every single Canelo opponent has in recent years for whatever reason. The stage was too bright, Canelo was too good, whatever. This was a fantastic performance. And Luke, my biggest takeaway, looking at this is, there was going to be a ceiling eventually for Canelo's ambition. And let's all sit here and applaud the shit out of Canelo for taking this fight and for taking this L. I mean, afterwards, more or less, he gave the credit to Bivol and said, it's boxing. You win some, you lose some. And to be fair, Canelo's been always about that. He's not protecting his record. He's always been about this. But Luke, I think he needed to find out what his limit was, where he was going to be humbled. He found it. And Luke, even though he's talking about going right back in there and rematching, if I'm Team Canelo, I sit down in a quiet room and I go, okay, 75's a bridge too far. We gambled against Kovalev, we won, but 75's a bridge too far. Let's go back in and make every freaking big fight we possibly could between 160 and 168, and let's retire as the greatest Mexican fighter of all time, the face of this era, and continue to stockpile as many world titles as we can. Because Luke, if he stays trying to fight at 175 against world-class credible guys, this is why we have divisions. You know what I mean? Sometimes you can bypass that. Canelo did that at 168. Manny Pacquiao did that at welterweight. Sometimes you can bypass the natural disruption in weight and size. But Canelo met his match at the end of the day, dude. And, Bivol, he wasn't that dude before, but when it mattered, Luke, he was that fucking dude. So I think we got to stand here and applaud both guys. Thank you, Canelo, for being a world-class star, face of the sport, pound-for-pound king, who's willing to challenge yourself like this. And thank you to Dmitry Bivol for showing us that at the end of the day, skills pay the bills. And he went in there and he got it done, Luke. But if you're trying to score 5 rounds for him, dude.
Okay,
Luke,
so this is my follow-up, BC. Like you, this was a rout to me. Like, it was not close. It was not close ever. That 9th round was good for Canelo. I thought that was a really solid round for him. That really was about it, other than some moments here or there. You asked me the maximum number of rounds I could give him. I rewatched it today. It was 2. 3, I think, is being quite generous, to be honest with you. However, this is my question. However, it does appear like they want to have the rematch in September. Right? Canelo always fights Cinco de Mayo and then in September. If they do it in September, BC, this is what I want you to think about. To you and I, and to most people, to many people anyway, this was a rout. But the judges gave him 5 rounds. Dude, is it really all that unthinkable if they put this fight in LA or Las Vegas again for Canelo to make a couple of adjustments, have a couple of better rounds, and to beat Bivol, even if we look at the fight, we'd be like, okay, maybe you could give Canelo 4 or 5 rounds, but you can't give him 6, certainly not 7. Dude, he had a fight where we thought he got basically not destroyed, but handily beaten, and he got 5 rounds. How hard is it for him to get 7? Doesn't seem that crazy, does it?
I mean, that's the problem. If he's going to think that way, then we're grading on a curve. And Luke, it's
but
like,
why
it's funny.
wouldn't he think that way, dude? This happens every fucking time he fights.
I get that, but we're essentially grading on a curve. And in some ways, it's like, okay, well, welcome to boxing. That's what we do at times with our super elite big stars. They get, membership has its privileges. They get advantages sometimes. Luke, I would say that before this fight, if you ask me why does Canelo get scorecards that your eyes tell you maybe he didn't deserve, or why does he get the benefit of the doubt at the very least? I think he has a style that judges love traditionally, right? Like efficiency, power punches. He does a lot great in that regard. He didn't do that in this fight. Dude, Luke, his power did not touch Bivol. It didn't move him at all. Canelo was really down to just throwing one shot at a time. Could he understand the way that the sausage is made and say, oh, like you said, oh, do a rematch, man. I could out. I mean, maybe, Luke, okay? But again, I don't think there's a ton to gain here. He's already won a world title in this division. Unless it's like, no, I told people I can win all the belts at 175. I'm going to do it. If he can go back in that lab and come out and figure out a way to beat Bivol in a rematch that we would believe with our eyes, and then he wants to keep going and fight Better Beav or whoever else for all the belts, then dude, Canelo, you are a modern marvel in this era of boxing businessmen. You are everything we say you are. But Luke, I don't think it happens in a rematch, and I don't want to see a closer fight that Canelo wins by 4 rounds because the judges just do that. No, I don't want to see that.
I don't think a guy who, by the way, Canelo thinks he won that fight. Like, you listen to his post-fight comments. He recognizes that it was, reasonably competitive, but he thinks he won that fight. Who is daring to be great, who that same week, to the point you raised, is talking about fighting fucking Usyk at heavyweight. That guy is not going to take this loss and look at it and say, gee, I got thoroughly beaten here. He's going to say, I was this close, and there's no reason why I can't be even better and then get over the hump in the rematch. To me, BC, tell me if I'm wrong, and I know you think I probably am, but my read on the situation is he's going to have to lose twice to this guy before he decides that 175 is a misadventure. He's not going to take one loss that he thinks was close as definitive proof this is all too much.
He may be because he's got a stubborn pride that's earned. So I get that. And Luke, if he did come back and win this, we'd freaking applaud him because look, the question is, what does your pound for pound look like now? Does Canelo hold the top spot because he was daring to be great, even though he lost? And where do you think Bivol belongs after this performance? Luke, Bivol showed you he ability wise on paper, the dude's pound for pound worthy. So it's a monster uphill climb for Canelo. If he wants to do it again, that's fine. But it was weird to me, knowing how boxing works, that even Bivol in the interview was like, sorry, I ruined your Golovkin fight, maybe. Dude, if Canelo actually wanted to fight Golovkin, it's in a different weight class. It's at 168 for all 4 belts. You could do that next without issue, but I get what you're saying. Canelo's a competitor. He wants to run it back. Luke, did you see those comments that Bivol even said, I can make 168 if you want to do a rematch, but we put all 4 of your super middleweight titles at stake? That could be the sexy edge to get the audience really tied into this one.